If you look at my wedding portrait, you could have guessed that my wife and I were very young when we got married. And you would be right. I was 18 years old, she was 16 years old. What you couldn't have guessed by looking at the portrait is that at the time that the picture was taken, my wife was already pregnant. You see, we met in high school. I was a senior, she was a freshman. And by May, I realized that our lives were going to be separate. We were going to go on different ways because I was going to graduate and she wasn't. So I decided to ask her parents for permission to date her. Now, it was obvious from the moment that they met me that they were never going to like me. Not only because I had long hair and I looked like a hippie, or like they say, I looked like a drug dealer. But because, let's face it, I wasn't very smart back then, and when I went to ask permission to date her, I didn't really say, I want permission. I say, I'm dating your daughter regardless if you like it or not. So I don't think that sit very well with them. They really didn't like me, and they reluctantly gave us permission to date. So a couple of months later, by August, when my girlfriend announced that she was pregnant, and we decided to get married, I decided to ask my father to come with me to ask for her hand in marriage, just in case her father decided that he wanted to beat me up. Her parents were less than enthusiastic about the idea of me becoming part of their family. But my girlfriend managed to convince them that I was a good boy, in spite of my long hair, that I had a good job, and that I had graduated from high school. Woo. So her father asked me, when he found out how soon we wanted to get married, by December, he asked me, what's the hurry? Now, I couldn't tell them it was because their daughter was pregnant. So instead I say, love. I can't live another day without her. Even my father rolled his eyes at my reply. So when are you going to come to meet my friends and my family to ask them ask them to be godfathers and godmothers at the wedding? He asked. You see, in Latin American countries, we have this custom where you go and you visit the friends and relatives of the families, and you ask them to be godmothers or godfathers, padrinos or madrinas. And that means that they're going to pay for the music, and the flowers, and the food, which is really good. You get a huge wedding. But I didn't have time for that. We needed to get married. Never, I say. We want to get married as soon as possible. He wasn't happy at all with my decision. And he got really upset, and he said that he was going to cancel everything, that there was no way we were going to get married that way. But once again, my girlfriend managed to convince them that we were really in love and we wanted to get married. Fine, he finally said. He got up, went to the fridge, and got a couple of beers so we could toast for the wedding. But my father was a recovering alcoholic. As part of his 12-step program, he couldn't drink. Now, I wasn't an alcoholic, but I didn't want to follow my father's footsteps, especially his 12 steps. So I decided that I didn't want to drink either. He got really upset. Luckily, my girlfriend managed to get a couple of glasses of water and give it to us, and we toast with the glasses of water. We got out of there as soon as we could. A couple of months later, by December, my wife and I were at the church, and we got married. And we had planned a little tiny gathering, just some pizzas and a couple of friends, no godfathers, no godmothers. And when we finished the ceremony, my father told me and my wife that he was going to give us a ride to this gathering that we had. So we got into his car. But as soon as we got into his car, he said, I have a surprise for you guys. I pay for a photographer to take pictures of you guys for your wedding, so you could have a wedding portrait. Now, this was a surprise, a great surprise for me, because my father was extremely cheap. He was the kind of man that believed that you should never make funeral arrangements because you're gonna die anyway. Why would you have to pay for anything when you're already dead? But I figured that my father was really happy that I, being the first son, was getting married. But I always thought that he was afraid that I was gay because of my long hair. So he was probably really happy that I was getting married to a girl. And he had finally decided to spend some of his money on me. So he started driving, and he drove us and drove us. But then he stopped at a shopping mall, and he parked his car. And I look around, me and my girlfriend look around, me and my wife look around, and we couldn't see any photo studio. My father got out of the car and made signals for us, he signaled for us to follow him. And he started to walk into a Sears store. Me and my wife look at each other and we figure maybe it's just a shortcut, maybe the studio's at the other side of the mall. You should have seen the look on the faces of the customers and the employees as we walk into the store. Me on my nice tuxedo with my tie, and my poor wife with her long white veil, her long white dress, her bouquet of flowers. Soon enough, we had a bunch of little kids following us everywhere we went. We got to the middle of the store, and there was an employee there taking family portraits for a very cheap price. That's what my father had paid for. And he didn't even pay for the whole thing. He only paid for the first, for the down payment. I was stuck paying for that picture on very easy payments for about 2-3 years. So the employee told us to get in front of a blue thing that he had there, taking pictures. And we stood there waiting for a picture. He took the picture. And you could have guessed by looking at the wedding portrait that my wife and I were very young when we got married. But you wouldn't have been able to guess that there was a group of kids singing and dancing. Broom and wife sitting on a tree, Kissing. Thank you.